right, welcome folks. Let's get started. Day 2 of writing. So let's jump right into it. We have a big day in front of us, lots of exciting things happening. So follow along. Let's start with quick polls. So the first question I have for you is, do you think I need a haircut? Do I need a haircut? All right, looks like you guys are all here. This is what I have. Well, folks, I'm going to get a haircut tomorrow, so looks like most of you will be disappointed. That's okay. I've been meaning to get one for a while. That's okay. The second question I have for you was, if you joined yesterday, was yesterday's session enjoyable? Did you have fun? Awesome, perfect, super. 91% of you had fun, great. Trust me, making English fun is quite difficult, so I'm very happy that 91% of you had fun in English. Like, my goodness, commas, the day commas and apostrophes become fun, then that's a new day, right? So we'll try and keep it up like this. We'll try and keep doing something different each time to keep it engaging. And the last question is, did you learn something in yesterday's session? Did you learn something in yesterday's session? Okay, sweet. Looks like almost everybody learned something in yesterday's session. That's amazing. That's exactly what we want. We will be going through more rules. So for those of you for whom these rules were not new, that's okay. We'll learn some new rules as we go along. Okay, so the structure going forward will be, we will start with a math question and then we will go into English, because I really want to keep that skill of yours in reading a math question alive. I want it to be very much alive, okay? So let's start with today's math question. Okay, so this is what we have. Okay, you will notice I've also placed the pure notes over here because I want you to follow this approach. So I'm going to do it today, and then from tomorrow we'll ask somebody else to come in. Let's see, how do I write on this? Okay, sweet. So the first thing I wanted to actually add, I added something new today. You notice at the approach, I added out write out type of question. This is important because sometimes when you get a second part question, you want to just write down at the top, you want to write down second part. Oh, this is tough. Second part, so that when you do the question, you can check back and make sure you got the second part correct. If it's a negative testing question, then you want to just write down negative at the top of the question so you know to look out for that and not make that mistake. So that's why I added this part. So let's read this question together. Highlight important information. So we have an equation. This is important. The speed of sound wave in air depends on the air temperature. Okay, so speed of sound and air temperature. The formula above shows the relationship. Okay, formula shows relationship between A, the speed, and waves. So we write down A and waves because we want to write down values and equations. We write down A and then waves. Sorry, I'm using my mouse today. That's why it's difficult. Sorry, A is speed. What am I doing? Yeah, A is speed. You get the point. A is speed, and T is air temperature in Fahrenheit. Usually I do this on my iPad. Today it's with the mouse. So you would write down the A, and then you would write down T, and you would put its units, okay? Then write down the ask clearly. Well, let's keep going. Which of the following expresses the air temperature in terms of speed of sound waves? So we want T in terms of A, right? This is what we want. Okay, this is the ask. But we're not done yet. We want to keep going. Read through the options, okay? So T in terms of A, T in terms of A. So everything has T. Here we have a negative, and here we have a positive. Everything else is the same. Here we have, this is flipped. And then we have a negative here. All three have 1.8 at the bottom. This one has 1.8 at the top. And here we have another positive. So now we know whether to look for 1.8 at the bottom. And so we can start approaching this question. So first we eliminate MCQ. Well, we can see that to have T as a subject, 1.8 has to be at the bottom. So we can remove this one. Then we can plug and chug zeros and ones. So one way you could do this is you could plug in 0 for A. So you could plug in 0 for A here, 0 for A here, and 0 for A over here, and then solve these numbers and see what you get, and then plug that back into here. Because this is the calculator section, you could do that. However, that's not going to help us today, so we're going to skip over this step. Then narrow down MCQ. Okay, let's narrow down. So if this comes on this side, this will have to be a negative before 1052. So we know this one makes sense, or this one makes sense. So we cross out. Let me just make sure I'm doing this correctly. Yep, so we know this one does not make sense, so we cross it out. Here we have a negative before the A, but not before this, so we can cross this one out. And so we know the answer is A. And notice how we did not use calculator, no need for calculator on this question. And we did not use algebra to solve because we can just look at the MCQ and solve this very quickly. Lastly, let's check the answer against the ask. Okay, the ask was T in terms of A. Do we have T in terms of A? Yes, we do. So we are good to go. So this is a lengthy process, but this will ensure that you are getting the right answer each time. Sweet. This is what we have for mathematics. All right. So today we have something special lined up for you, which is that up till today, many of you, you're going through your day and you're coming to this class at 4 p.m. 4 p.m., the brain sort of goes in a lull, right? Either you've done an entire day of school and then you're coming for this class, or you've been watching TV the entire day because you're on holiday, or you've been doing SAT homework and then you come to this class, so you're a little tired. Till today, that was okay because we were doing, we were trying to make mistakes, right? We were trying to learn from our mistakes, so that was okay. Today we're doing something different. Today, or yesterday also, we're trying to learn, we're trying to memorize. So we want to make sure that our brain is working properly, right? So that our brain can soak in all the information possible. So you remember we talked about concentration and improving concentration. So today we're doing a simple exercise on improving concentration. So let me set that up for you. It's a really, really cool exercise. It's very simple, and I hope that it is helpful for you also. And then we will start English, all right? So let me share my screen.
When you're finished, please sit comfortably.
All right. Hopefully everyone is back and seated. We can turn on our videos now. Thank you so much for doing that. I would love to know how that was for you. Was that enjoyable? Awesome. This makes me really happy. So why we did this? Because if you remember, if you were here for the math section, you will remember that math itself is not difficult. It's just paying attention and paying attention to detail. English is also not difficult. I won't share results. 80% of you really enjoyed it, so thank you. English is also not difficult. It's just about paying attention. SAT is just about paying attention and for keeping it up for 4 hours. And one of the things that's helped me do really well in my studies is things like this that helped me focus more. So we could compress the entire 1 month of SAT that we're doing together into 4 days or into 3 documents, and I could just send that to you. But that's not going to be that effective because we need to train, we need to practice and build that muscle. But it could be effective if you have that keenness of attention. And if I tell you once, never make a mistake again on a second part question type of question, then that's all you need, right? If you have that keenness of attention, you will never make a mistake on a second part question again. If you have the keenness of attention, you will never make a mistake with a semicolon or a colon. You will be able to identify the independent clauses before. If you have that memory, ability to maintain good memory, you will be able to look at a page of rules and just commit them to memory and then use them on the SAT for writing. and never make a mistake. So practice is only necessary to help it commit to memory, to make it a second hand. But practice is not necessary if you can train your mind to learn these things faster. So that's why we did that. It's a really good practice to help you also relax in between the breaks that they give you in the SAT. So if you are interested, there's an entire webinar you can do, an hour-and-a-half webinar that teaches you many more practices that can be extremely helpful for your SAT prep. Okay, so as promised, we're going to jump into English. So let's start with English. If you remember, yesterday we went over some rules. So I'm going to very quickly review those rules with you and show you a couple of changes that I've made afterwards. Okay, I'll share my screen. Okay, so we talked about sentence fragment error, which is a dependent sentence that's on its own, if you remember that. Then we talked about what's happening? Okay, then we talked about a sentence run-on error, which is two independent sentences joined with only a comma. So the correct sentence need a comma and fanboys. We talked about sentence and, which is two independent sentences joined only with and. So I have a question for everybody, which is run-on sentence and sentence the same thing? Sorry, folks, my computer's freezing. Can you private chat me if you can still hear me? Okay, all right, I'll keep going then. My computer's frozen for some reason. All right, so anyway, so sentence run-on error, which is two independent sentences joined together, and sentence and error. You will notice that run-on sentence and error is sort of the same. It's just that the run-on error can be either with just a comma or with any of these, but and error is specifically joining two sentences with and. The problem is that the reason we have them separate is because and error is very frequent. The other one is sentence comma splice error, which is two independent clauses joined only with a comma. All right, you guys will have to just do it with my audio. For some reason, it's not working. Okay, the next one was comma non-essential phrase rule, which is any dependent phrase between two commas is non-essential. And comma joining independent sentence rules, which is that you can only join two independent sentences with a comma if you also add fanboys. Yep, so these are the two. So you know comma splice, or you know the non-essential phrase rule, which is when he was very young is non-essential, so it can be removed between two commas. And joining independent sentence rule. It needs a comma and a so, like and fanboys. All right, let's go to the next one. Cool. So misplaced modifier is very, very frequent. So misplaced modifier error is when it modifies the wrong thing. Dangling error is the modifier, there's no clear subject that it's modifying. Okay. And squinting error is not that frequent. So we went over this. Take a photo of this. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, this one should be that the subject and the verb should be the same tense. All right, next. And you remember this one. Possessive S is not the same as plural S. Okay, next. Cool, punctuation rule, very important, very, very important. A colon has to have an independent clause before, whereas a semicolon has to have an independent clause before and after. Okay, this is very important. We will do this in so many different ways today. Okay, so we're going to do 2.3, right? 2.3. For this one, what I want you to tell me is what kind of mistake are they trying to catch here. So the the question still works exactly the same way. You have to read all of the options. So you'll notice that the difference in different options is can pollute, could have polluted, has polluted. So there's a difference there. And waterways, apostrophe S, with S, and without apostrophe S. That's the difference. Okay, so once you notice these things, then do this poll, please. What type of writing rule is this? All right. Okay, so this is a apostrophe S dilemma, right? You will notice this is basically an apostrophe S dilemma. So what's the rule for apostrophe S? Apostrophe S is only when it's possessive, and it's with an S when it is plural. So let's read the sentence. If it is improperly introduced into the environment, acid way runoff can pollute waterways. So actually, some of you also put misplaced modifier. So this is a misplaced modifier, but it's not an error. This is actually correct because the question is if it is improperly introduced into the environment. The question here is what is introduced into the environment? Well, the answer is acid way runoff. That is correct. So it's a good modifier. So acid way runoff can pollute waterways, or can pollute waterways. How do we know what this is? So obviously, actually, let me just launch a ABC poll. Yeah, can you do this question, please? Okay. Cool. So yes, the answer is A. It's not B. Some of you put B. It's not B because the waterways is possessive in B. There's nothing possessive here. So this is just like reading the sentence and understanding if plural or possessive is needed. Some of you put C. So let's see. Why is it not C? Okay, so you will notice it's if it is improperly, and C is could have. So the tense is not the same. The tense does not match. So we will review that error in the future. For now, we're just reviewing apostrophe S. Okay, let's do question 13. This time I won't read the question. I want you to just look at the question and tell me what kind of error it is. So 13 is here. What error is D making? 13D. Yep, so it's making this is making an and error or a sentence run-on error. It's just joining two independent sentences. So what are the independent sentences? We have typically the ice sheet begins to show evidence of thaw in late summer. That's one sentence. This follows several weeks of high temperature. This is another sentence. Both are good independent sentences. Therefore, they need to be joined with a comma and fanboy. So it'd be either one of these. We're not going to go to the answer, but you will realize that you can cross out A and you can cross out D. Oh, why you cannot cross out A? Because following several weeks of high temperature is not independent. It's a dependent clause now. And therefore it can be joined with a comma. But this thawing following several weeks of high temperature is an independent sentence. Therefore you can cross out B. Okay, so what error does C make? Can somebody tell me what error? Oh, actually, no, sorry. Sorry guys. You cross these out because it's too verbose. We're not going to go into that today. Let's keep moving on. Let's do 15. 15 here. We will just read 15 for a second. Okay, what type of error does 15A make? So 15A, what type of error is 15A? Yep, so and pull. Okay, this one's a little tricky. Essentially, to notice this, you need to notice that this is a non-essential phrase that's been highlighted. And so 15A does not follow the non-essential phrase rule, which is that it should be, both of them should be inside a comma. You will notice for the non-essential phrase rule, this has to be this has to be dependent, and this is a dependent sentence. An associate professor of geology at Ohio State is a dependent sentence. So this can go between two commas. So both A does not work and B does not work because it puts the comma at the wrong place. And you will notice that it modifies the right thing. This is modifying Jason Box. So an associate professor of geology at Ohio State has to be right next to Jason Box. So let's do the answer. What is the answer for this one? Yep, you are getting it right. The answer is C. Awesome. Okay, so answer is C because it puts a comma after box and after state. This is dependent. Great. Let's do 16. So what type of error is 16 trying to catch you at? Oh, no, not this. What type of error is 16 trying to make you do? Nice, you guys are getting it. You guys are getting it. Awesome. Okay. All right. I think most of you understand. This is a colon and a semicolon rule. So remember the rules we went through. These questions are just testing those rules. You just have to keep crossing out options with these rules. So let's do this. What is 16a? The dark snow problem. This is wrong because after a semicolon, you need an independent sentence. The dark snow problem. And it was the dark snow problem. Again, and it was the dark snow problem after a semicolon is independent. It's not, you cannot start a sentence with and. The answer to this one is C. We will cross out D later. We will review the rule for why to cross out D later. We will not do that one today. All right, let's do 17. Okay, this is a tricky one. So why don't you figure out what the error is and do the question directly? So think through all the questions. What could the answer be? Think through the different errors that this question could be making. Oh, it's question 17. We're doing question 17. And when you approach this question, one way to do this is just whatever sounds right. But I urge you to just try crossing out different options using the rules that we went through. If you can apply the rule to cross out all of the options, that's the correct way of doing this paper. Sometimes what sounds right can be incorrect. And sometimes the SAT is tricking you on that. Okay, I will stop the poll here. Okay, so most of you are getting this correct. So let's look at this. According to Box, a leading general Greenland expert, Trina Fires, $2,000 in America, produced great amount of soot. Okay, so this is good. This is the fragment before the comma, the segment, or the clause. And here we have another clause after the comma, which goes all the way to here. So if you join two independent clauses with a comma, it's incorrect. That's a run-on error. So this is a run-on error because some of it drifted over to Greenland is independent, and this is also independent. Therefore, you cannot join it with just a comma. Some of which, if you put some of which instead, some of which makes the sentence dependent. So you can join it with a comma. That is why this is okay. So some of it makes it the subject, some of which refers to the subject here. So that's the importance of which. Okay, so this is a little tricky. Some suit drifted, again, some suit makes this the subject, suit becomes a subject. So this becomes independent, so you can cross it out. Some drifted actually makes this a, you don't know what drifted. So you want to specify what drifted. Therefore, 17C is the correct answer. Okay, let's go to the next one. We have 24. We'll do 24. 24 is a question. 24 is here. Let's do this one. I want you to tell me what the error is. What's the error that they're trying to catch you with? What is the error? Or the rule? What is the error that they're trying to catch you? 24. We're doing question 24. Okay, so you will notice this is a modifier error. They're trying to catch you with a modifier error because you will notice we have an independent modifier. Having become frustrated, trying to solve difficult problems. The question is who? Who became frustrated? We don't know. And so the modifier has to be right next to the subject it is modifying. So is it the colleagues that became frustrated? Is it the no colleagues that became frustrated? Is it the ideas that became frustrated? Or is it I that became frustrated? That's the only thing that they're looking for here. And so you will notice the answer is D, because who became frustrated? It's actually I that became frustrated. Therefore, I has to be right next to this modifier. So this is a classic misplaced modifier error. So we have misplaced modifier. All right, let's do another one. Okay, so, oh no, we're skipping this one. Let's do 32. 32, let's do 32, colleagues. What type of error is this trying to catch? Yep, okay, you guys are getting it. Colon, semicolon error. If you read the question, you will notice that there is a semicolon here, a colon here. So that's what they're trying to check. So let's do, you know the rules for this. So let's see what's the answer. So the phrase in a semicolon, what goes before has to be independent. The clause, just the clause exists till the comma. In a colon, before and after have to be independent. So B is not correct because another website developer is not independent. Or even this is not independent. So you cannot have a semicolon. Okay, so the answer is A. 32 is correct as it is because this is introducing a list. Another website developer, a graphic designer, a freelancer writer, and several mobile app coders. This is a list, so you put a colon before the list. What happens if you put comma? So then it reads, I've gotten to know several of my co-working colleagues and other website developers. So it seems to see, if you put a comma, then the sentence becomes gotten to know, and the parallel structure becomes several of my co-working colleagues and another website developer. It makes this seem like this and this is the same, whereas in actuality, this is a subject of my co-working colleagues. This will start making more sense as we go through. Don't worry if you're confused today. It will make more sense as we go through this. Okay, 36. Let's do what type. Oh, actually, let's skip 36. This one's a little tough. Let's do 39. Okay, 39. Let's do 39 together. And I will let you use the rules on your own. Okay, so many of you are getting B. That's okay. So B is actually not the right answer, but that's okay because for today, we haven't done all the rules yet, so it's okay. The reason we pick A instead of B is because this is less verbose, it's shorter, but we haven't done that, so don't worry. If you got B, that's okay. If you got C, then you are not following the rules, which is that which makes this independent. So where is which can be measured, and then so this becomes a dangling modifier. So what can be measured? And it makes it seem like analytical writing can be measured. That's why C is not correct. Okay, so we will stop this today. All right. Was today difficult? Was the questions we did today, were they difficult? Yeah, they were difficult. I appreciate that they were difficult. It's okay. The reason I was showing you these questions, don't get disheartened if you're getting these questions wrong. The reason I'm showing you these questions is to show you that the rules actually are copy-pasted into the exam. So we haven't done all the rules yet, which is why we're struggling a little bit. Okay, so more than half of you found today difficult. That's okay. We haven't done all the rules, which is why we're struggling. Over the next 2-3 days, we will finish all the rules. So it will be we will be much better at doing this. It's okay if you made mistakes today. Some quick announcements. We will be there will be no class tomorrow and no class on Saturday. The next class will be on Sunday, so please come on Sunday. And then Sunday, I will check with all of you again if your schools are starting on Monday, and accordingly, we'll change the time. I was supposed to go over new rules today, but because of the computer, I could not. So we will start next week immediately with new rules. So on the way out, I will let you all go. On the way out, I need to rename my website or this tutoring service, basically. So if you have a cool name, you can put it in chat if you have a cool name for this. No parent special on Sunday. Sunday is for kids, so kids, please come. This class will be normally, as is done normally in class. So tomorrow and Saturday are holidays. Please type in a name for this service. I need to rename it. So if you have any names, would love it. And I will let you go with some Disney today. Into the unknown.